Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the essay writing process. In particular, we're focusing on writing a comparison and contrast essay. And we're going to use two of the short stories that we focused on in our short story unit. So let's just do a quick review of essay writing and the steps of that process. So step one is topic selection. Step two, you would reread your stories. And in this case, we're going to ask you to use active reading strategies. So we've learned those earlier this week. Essentially, it's employing annotation and reading with a little bit of purpose and mindfulness about what you're actually looking for, and then tracking those things as you go. Step three is what we call the brainstorming and organization phase. So this is where you would actually take your active reading and repurpose it into something like this, which is a T-chart. So the T-charts are quite powerful for doing comparison and contrast. You'll notice that you put one story in the left-hand column, the other story in the right-hand column. Make sure to mention the author's name and the date, and then you're going to section things into the different topics you want to write about. So if you were doing a block essay, you just have similarities and then differences. But I've decided to look at it from a topical or a thematic approach. So I've separated what I discovered in those stories into our three different analysis windows. We've actually talked about 3 windows or 4 windows. The main point here is as long as your ideas are organized and clear and the system you're using is clear in your essay, you're golden. So you can see here I've looked at the similarities and differences between those stories. Now before we move on, it's maybe a little bit meaningful for us to take a look at what the annotation might look like. So you can see here I've completed the annotation, the active reading process for these stories, and I've color-coded my investigation and my kind of tracking of the devices. So green would be alliteration. I used yellow for similes and metaphors. Pink is talking about personification. And then I've just added some comments on the side to help guide myself as I'm reading away. And you can see that there's quite a density of different devices being utilized in Old Mossy. And if we check out the second story, a real live tiger hunt, you'll see that it's exactly the same. So when you read, you do your active reading process, you collect the data that you're going to use for your analysis of those stories. Perfect. So then the next step is once we've done our framing chart, then you need to stop and think and take a second to kind of have a little bit of a conversation with yourself about what your goal is, how much you'd like to get written in this session, and then you're going to jump straight into writing your introduction paragraph. So those are the steps to set up the writing process, and in the next video we'll actually take a look at what I wrote. So I know that when I type it's quite loud, so I've gone ahead and done the writing in advance, and we'll just go through and look at the different sections. Okay, so this is our first video, and we'll be setting up the second video shortly.